Here's the thing though. Singing might not take as much time as you think it does. I feel like I never have time. Oh, this is another hobby question. I never feel like I have time for my hobby, including singing. How can I overcome this? I feel like I never have time for my hobby, including singing. Hobbies. Okay. I feel like I never have time for my hobbies, including singing. How can I overcome this? How can I overcome this? Cool. Cool, cool, cool. So, first of all, I totally get you. Totally get you. Sometimes you can feel like we've got all these commitments. Maybe we've got kids. Maybe we've got pets. Maybe we've got pets. Maybe we've got like two jobs. We're juggling all these different things. And to get a bit of me time, to be able to sing, maybe you don't have enough time. Maybe you really don't have enough time, or you feel like you don't have enough time. So I totally get you. It happens to all of us. Totally happens to all of us. I would say for this, right, to overcome this, there's a couple of things you have to tackle. So number one, I truly believe that we all have the same amount of time. We all have time, and what we need to do as people is make priorities, not make time or have more time. It's about making the priorities, because I think a lot of times, right, when you've picked up something new and you haven't invested time in it, it actually might be more because it's not as important for you. Like what are your priorities, right? What are your priorities? For example, I actually had one of my students, and she's like very successful. She makes a lot of money. She makes a lot of money, and she really loves singing. Right? She really loves singing, and she was struggling to make time for singing. She was like, "Oh, I don't have much time. I love singing, but I don't have much time." And then just really chatting and understanding a bit more, she realized that singing had this really high priority for her, because it always had been a place for joy, for happiness. It just really let her kind of be herself. And because she'd never really made that a priority for her, she never made the time for it. And so all we did, a little bit of a priority shift. She now sees the priority of singing, right? She sees it as up here. So not in accordance, she naturally puts time towards it now. And the way you can actually make this happen is just use a calendar. Use a calendar. Google Calendar. If you use a journal, that's awesome. Whatever you rock with, use that. And just write it down. Block off time for it. Because if you don't block off time for it, it probably wouldn't happen. It just probably wouldn't happen. Personally, I use a lot of Google Calendar to organize my time. And as much as I'm talking about singing at the moment, it could be anything. It's just priority, making sure you are prioritizing the right thing by making time for it, right? And use your tools, Google Calendar, and use tools like your journals, and anything that works, rock out with it. The other thing is, I think, to be honest, I totally get it. We all have lots of things happening in our lives, lots of different things that are calling out for our attention. Here's the thing though. Singing might not take as much time as you think it does, especially if you're trying to get better. If you really want to kind of, if you can really focus, singing really isn't this laborious, time-consuming activity. Some people have come into my sessions and thought, oh, do you have to practice like hour a day, or like 2 hours a day, maybe even like a lot of hours per week, right? And I always come back to them with this. First of all, it depends on how much effort you want to put in. If you want to put in an hour, wonderful. If you want to put in 3 hours, wonderful. But from what I've seen with most of my students, the ones who make the most progress, the ones who feel the most happy, the ones who make the most out of their journey of learning to sing, are the ones who are able to practice consistently. And consistently could mean, okay, 10 minutes per day. It could mean 15 minutes per day. It could mean 30 minutes per day. It could mean 60 minutes per day. Because what I would much rather see, or what might be better for you, is instead of practicing 5 hours on a Friday night, as I said, 5 hours on a Friday night, practicing 20 minutes a day, split over that 5, 6, 7 days, might actually be more valuable for you. You get more bang out of your buck. Because chances are, if you practice 5 hours, those last 2 to 3 hours, you might be even fatigued. You might not even really be honing your craft. You might just be fatiguing. You're just working out for the sake of working out, but not really building anything. So if you can really switch that perspective, singing doesn't necessarily have to eat your hours like that. 20 minutes a day, 20 minutes for 5 days a week, that's more than enough. As long as you're coming to these practice sessions with a purpose, there's a structure, there's a focus, there's a goal. And this is some of the things I help a lot of my members at Basecamp do. So we do a lot of these kind of ideas, but I would love for you to play around with this. Everyone has the same amount of time. It's your priorities. Are you really prioritizing it? And if you do, put some time on your calendar. Make it happen. The other thing is, singing doesn't really take as much time as you think. If you're singing casually and you just want to get better, it really doesn't take as much time as you think. 20 minutes a day, right? That's as much time as taking like a long bath. Yeah, taking a long bath. So see if you can make that happen.